All right, big guy. His last turn probably. An 18.
No.
An 11. And a 15.
Oh, sorry.
And about that time, the moss caps break through the crowd, 3 of them, and start shouting for all 3 of you to drop your weapons. And they can see that both you and the big man have sustained fairly extensive injury at this point. Both of you have landed a good hit or 2 at this point. The crowd is shouting in favor of one man or the other. It's kind of evenly split. And you start hearing descriptions being shouted by people all around of the type of magic that you're using on your sword. How the other man, his supporters are talking about how he is the triumphant underdog in the fight because obviously you're using your wizardry to cheat. And it's just a cacophony of voices. The moss caps are just trying to disarm everybody at the moment. That brings us to your turn.
No, I'll disarm.
Disarm?
I'll just put my I'll hang my hammer on the little loop on my belt.
Okay.
And put my shield away.
The dagger guy sets his knife on the ground and hollers out that you were the aggressor, that they should take you away. The big guy. So you no longer have a shield out.
No. So my AC is 17.
I have a 16 to hit.
No.
I have a 16 to hit. I have an 18 to hit.
So that does hit.
Okay. No shield?
No shield.
No shield.
Like, I'm not expecting to be hit because everybody else, like the other guy disarmed and I disarmed and
The big guy did not.
right.
So it's going to be 9 points of bludgeoning damage. And go ahead and give me that DC 15 strength save, if you please.
That is a pass.
Okay.
And you said 9?
9 points. And immediately 2 of the moss caps are on top of him, shoving him back away from you and insisting that he throws his sword down. And you hear a clatter as he eventually does. But he looks incredibly pleased with himself, having got in that one last good hit in front of everybody. The third moss cap kind of starts ushering you away from the scene. And like I said, the crowd is pretty evenly split based on who they support. But there is a lot of talk and a lot of rumor mongering about how you're the aggressor in the fight, how you came out against Sigurd Tensails, and about how you immediately started using wizardry when you saw the story is you were starting to lose this fight, and so you resorted to magic to win it. So the moss cap wants to see your magic credentials for one thing.
Yeah, I'll show him. And I'll tell him my story. It's like, yeah, it started off as a simple bar brawl, and then they pulled weapons, and at that point, it was no longer a bar brawl. It was me defending myself. And I'll show him my.
Okay.
And I.
He doesn't look too impressed when you show him the sigil of the Cobblestone Wizards. And he says he wishes you people would join one of the real magic colleges.
He
wants to know why you started the brawl.
I didn't.
He doesn't seem to believe you.
I didn't. They were talking about Sigurd Tensails, and I was asking what people's opinion of him was.
What is your opinion of Tensails?
That, when I talked to him the other day, I had the kind of thought he was a little bit of an asshole, but I think he might make a good king. Most elected officials are assholes.
So my father's an elected official.
Is he an asshole?
There's actually not many elected officials in Dunfoss. Like, that's not the phrasing that you would use here, I don't think.
Ah, okay. Well.
Is what you meant to say, like, most government employees or most nobility or something like that? Men of means?
Leaders. Like, most leaders of men are assholes.
Okay. Yeah, he tells you that his father's such a man. He's a captain of the Moss Caps for 23 years.
And to wrangle people and lead them, you have to be an asshole. You can't be nice all the time.
At this point, having not pleased this Mozcap at all, you find yourself under arrest.
Okay.
What do you do about it?
Nothing. Like, just ask why I'm being arrested.
For starting fights, for using magic for the ends of violence. He rattles off a bunch of other stuff.
The only spell I used was shield to defend myself.
You used Booming Blade.
No, I didn't. It didn't go off.
Ah.
It doesn't make any noise. It doesn't make any noise unless it hits.
Let's find out. But you're going along with them, yes?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
okay.
I have no reason to to do it. They're just doing their job.
As part of the action used to attack, it's an action, not a bonus action. Okay, I misunderstood how the spell worked. Otherwise, the spell fails.
All I did was cast shield. That's all anybody ever saw was shield.
I'm not totally sure about that.
Well, what components does Booming Blade have?
Verbal and material, so you would have had to speak a magic word.
In the middle of that, nonsense. People heard
That's a lot of things.
I mean, unless one of them is a trained wizard, I don't know how they're going to agree that you didn't cast anything other than shield.
Okay. Seeker?
Yeah,
You're the only one back at the barge at the moment, correct?
that sounds right to me.
You come back at the barge, and Kevin comes barging into your room after you spent a couple hours of study, getting on into afternoon now, and he looks out of breath. So I was up in town running some errands. There's some words that Gus got taken by the Mosscaps in Wharftown. That he was drunk as a skunk, speaking out against Tensales and casting spells and beating a man bloody in the street.
That sounds about right. So where'd they take him? Where was he?
Well, Kevin wasn't there to witness this. He heard it from someone who heard it from somebody who was there. They don't know where they've taken him.
Guess we better go look into it.
So let's get some afternoon actions now. I guess we know what Gus is doing this afternoon.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm going to use that time to kind of go use the bathroom since I'm in jail. I'm in timeout now.
And Alexander, would you mind pasting the material you had into the Flumph party chat and then just kind of summarizing it for us?
Sure. So Alex, looking through a bunch of records, just finding people of the right age who had provably no heirs, found identified 3 men.
Okay.
Identified Vice Admiral Alan Villo, who is an admiral, Lord Admiral of 1/3 of the Navy. He had 3 children. The youngest 2 were lost to piracy at a young age. The oldest ships vanished without a trace 10 years ago. There's Methil the Rich,
Does he come with an accompanying guitar riff, apparently?
Dude, he rules.
a noble who inherited a large overland trading company from his mother, who was raised to nobility by a previous king. He's never married and is known to frequent all the finest restaurants in Dunfoss.
Okay.
And finally, we have Earl Gutterson, Earl of Tarlone, a fallow corner of the kingdom.
Wait, is he an Earl, or is the man's name Earl?
No, he's an Earl.
So he's Earl.
Sure. His name is also Earl. He's taken up residency in his Dunfoss manor and has not returned to his homestead in 20 years after the loss of his wife and child during childbirth. He has 4 vassal barons that run the lands back home.
Very good. And yeah, let's go around and collect some afternoon actions. What is Alex going to be doing this afternoon?
Well, I think that's a pretty good series of leads. Did she want us to pick one and vet them, or did she just want us to give her a list?
Well, in order to put together a decent list, you're going to have to do some vetting at least.
Okay.
Like, at the very least, you're going to want to go out and learn a little bit about these guys individually.
Should I do that, or that put you on the spot, given they were just created?
Oh, wow. I can improv any of these guys, no problem.
Sure, let's start with the Vice Admiral, then.
Okay. Not with Earl.
No.
Okay. Now, Dunfoss has not had much of a navy since...
Yeah, 1/3 of the Navy might just be a couple of ships at this point.
because a large amount of the Navy sailed out when King Catsbin took the throne. They went out to sea at this great revelry and never returned. And when Maximilian took the throne, he never bothered to rebuild much of the Navy. So this is probably a bitter man at this point. A bitter and idle man. If he has one third of the Navy, might be like 1, maybe 2 derelict ships right now. And that's who we're going to go meet with.
Yeah,
today.
let's see if I can arrange an audience with him.
What is Seeker doing this afternoon?
Seeker is going to go hunting for Gus.
Okay.
Good old Gus hunting.
What about Florian?
Where does one go to get a statue made in Dunfoss?
So, Dunfoss has a large dwarven population. So there's a lot of places you could go. You could go up to Gnome Town, which is where a lot of just dwarven manors and such are. It's probably very easy to find artists and sculptors, dwarves and gnomes both. It kind of depends on what your aim is with this statue. Like, if you're trying to make a timeless work of art, or are you trying to make a sign, Flumph Inc. this way, arrow? What's...
More like the second, but not from the get-go.
I'll say you can get this job done from anywhere between... Assuming you want some semblance of quality, yes?
Yes.
We could get this job done for anywhere between 100 gold pieces up to 20,000 gold pieces, depending on how crazy we want to go with it. For 100 gold pieces, you could probably get a slab of granite or something with the visage that you're thinking about carved and etched into it in a very handsome way. 20,000 gold pieces would be finding the greatest sculptor in the land and having him travel to Dunfoss for 8 months while he makes the Flumph statue of David.
While as tempting as that is,
yes,
we are still 30,000 plus gold in debt.
Still.
And for as much as Florian might be of the mind to say, we'll just throw it on the pile, let's go cheap. Let's go towards the 100 gold end.
Florian comes back tonight. He says, guys, I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is now we're 50,000 gold in debt. Alright, so you're going to go to Gnome Town and find probably a gnomish artist who does stonework.
Yes, that would be perfect. To get a quote, effectively.
Okay. What is Lucius doing this afternoon? Has McDohl run off on me? Has it finally all been too much?
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute my microphone, and my microphone's being stupid. My next plan was to go and see Father Oliver and see what he needed.
Okay.
Hopefully before the gamblers come here and I get accosted with that nonsense.
Gus, you allow them to disarm you without any fuss to speak of? Okay.
Like I said, they're just doing their jobs.
They do take you to a dungeon in the White Hart district. They kind of bring you... So here's what you can kind of expect to happen. Somewhere, some arbitrary person will decide the nature of your crime and what kind of either fine you own or what kind of penance you need to pay. The first thing they need to clear up is they need you to give them the name of somebody in the Cobblestone Wizards who can vouch for you. Because they've been having great difficulty lately with counterfeit Cobblestone Wizard imagery.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not actually a member of the Cobblestone Wizards, you're in much more trouble than you would be otherwise.
I'll give them... Oh gosh, what was her name? Was it Nut?
Nut?
Chubb.
Chubb, yes.
Caitlin Chubb.
Caitlin Chubb, yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, my brain was like K-N-U-T? No, it's Chubb.
I think you tell them where they can find her shop. So right now they're inclined to just kind of throw you in the cell, let you sleep it off. But you could tell, especially the guy that you spoke to at Wharftown that was among the Mosscaps that brought you here, loves you not.
Okay.
Okay. Seeker.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to pick up the story on the street. People saw Gus picking a fight in Wharftown, in a bar that spilled out in the street. Somebody said something in support of Sigurd Tensails, and Gus went crazy and summoned this hammer that came blaring through the front window of the bar and started beating the guy down right there in the middle of the bar. Barkeeper threw him out into the road. The man tried to defend himself with his sword, but every time he moved in to get a good hit, Gus used like a magic spell to throw the man's sword aside. And it wasn't until the Mosscaps came and dragged Gus off that he stopped his assault. That's the story you got anyway.
Okay.
And you also learned where he was marched through down to the White Hart district. And it wouldn't be difficult, especially if you're going to bribe someone, to find out where he's being held.
Oh, I don't bribe people that I can find using magic.
Okay, so how do you find Gus?
I'm going to kind of head over towards the White Hart district,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to cast Locate Object.
Okay.
Looking for, I think... Well, he said he summoned his hammer, so presumably they took that. So I'm going to look for Gus's hammer.
Okay. And it doesn't take more than an hour or so. The Mosscaps do maintain small watchtowers throughout the town, notably not in any of the districts that are outside the walls, so there wouldn't be one in Wharftown. But there would be one, for example, in North Gates or in High Bluffs that they could take like a belligerent to hold till they decide what to do with him. The fact that they marched him down to the White Hart district tells you that he's probably considered more dangerous than just the average street tough.
What's the situation here? Like, is something where I would expect to be able to, like, post a bail, or, like, what's going on?
Depending on the exact crime and the exact story that comes out, it could be anything, because like we've established, there's not really a justice system to speak of.
Yeah.
Essentially, somebody's going to tell him what he owes the crown for his transgressions, and then he's expected to pay it. Whether that is a fine, or 2 weeks in the stocks, or his head. A lot of ways it could go.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm going to head down there and talk to them and see if I can pick them up.
Okay, so you're going to go down to one of the guard towers. And underneath these guard towers, they have some holding cells for belligerents like Gus. I don't think I'm out of line calling Gus belligerent.
Listen, Gus is real. He's not belligerent at all.
He's a list
He's
of
real.
belligerents for that conflict.
Gus is real mellow.
See, after an hour or so of searching, you get to ping off your Locate Object spell. It's being in this particular guard tower in the White Hart district. And you're greeted by a couple of Mosscaps as you're walking close to them. And as you go to enter the tower, I mean, they obviously ask your name, state your business, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh, and I'll introduce myself. I'm wearing my standard sort of outfit, and I'll give them a business card. I'll say, I heard that you have one of our employees locked up.
Gus, would you have mentioned Flumph Inc. at all as you were being marched back?
No, because they didn't ask.
Okay. They looked the business card over kind of disinterestedly. All right, what of it?
I'll say I want to know what I need to do in order to get him back. Who I need to make amends to. I heard there was some sort of brawl.
As well. You go to the palace and throw yourself at the mercy of the king. I suppose that might get your man set free.
And I'll kind of look disappointed at that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll say there's no way I could convince you in order to set him free. He's been under a great deal of stress lately. You might have heard about the brawl down at the harbor. He took a bad wound protecting some of the moss caps down there.
Make a persuasion check.
Alright. That is a I'm not rolling for this one. That is a 19.
Seems a little taken aback and then a little impressed. You lot were at the harbor yesterday.
Sure, you can ask anyone. In fact, ask Sigurd. He's been spreading our name about town.
You fought with 10 sails.
I'll nod. Say I saw the man get dragged underneath the water and then fight his way back up.
Says our man says your man is no friend of 10 sails.
And Seeker will shrug at that and say, he might not like the man's politics, maybe. But he fought alongside him in battle, and that's a friend, if I have to say so.
Make an insight check.
Alright. That is a 12.
Drawing a distinction between like friend and like combat ally to this man doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Although he does seem to be a fan of 10 sails. And thinking about it, if you don't stand with 10 sails for idealistic reasons, you probably stand with 10 sails because you're greedy.
And Seeker will say, "You like you're a bit of a fan of 10 sails yourself. Perhaps you heard about him passing out some souvenirs down at the harbors. I happened to get a few from the man afterwards because I was so intrigued by him, and I'd be willing to let you have some of them if you could see your way to releasing him on my recognizance."
Says these souvenirs you speak of, how shiny are they?
Oh, tolerably so. And Seeker will pull out what's a standard bribe for like a couple gold?
A couple gold would be a fairly princely bribe.
Yeah, I'll pull out a couple gold.
How many is a couple?
Two.
Literally two? Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a spat as one of the Mosscat guards standing out here, who hasn't said anything to you, just kind of been watching the conversation, shows displeasure. But the other man shushes him, talks him down. Well, I am a fan of souvenirs. He takes the gold. He pockets it. He says, I don't have the authority to turn your man loose. That's for the crown to decide. But I don't see the harm in bringing you down for a friendly visit.
Sure. And then if anyone had cause to ask your opinion on our friend here, you could tell him peaceable, no harm to anyone.
He tells you that, in his opinion, the story that came out of Wharftown was vastly overblown.
These things are.
And you are taken down to this dingy cell where Gus is in there sleeping off a morning's drink and probably a bad headache. You can see he suffered wounds during the fight. The man he was fighting did get a lick or two in. The Mosscap guard that you bribed stands at the end of the hall with stairs leading up into the tower proper. Only 4 cells down here, the other 3 of which are empty. Iron bars on each of the doors with mundane locks.
And Seeker will walk up to Gus and say, "Hey, Gus."
Well, you walk up to the bars, separating you from Gus.
Sure. Gus, wake up. Seeker will kick him.
You can't kick him.
I can kick a bar near him.
You can kick a bar. Yeah. You do that net
What?
hack, you hurt your leg.
Oh, hey.
Gus, I heard you got in a fight.
Yeah. I was just asking some people how they felt about 10 cells, and I don't know. I guess something about my face made them angry, and I got jumped by 6 dudes. And then 2 of them pulled weapons, and I pulled my weapon, and
Yeah, I
here
don't
they
care
are.
about that. What spells did they see you cast?
Shield.
Okay. So here's how this is going to go. It's apparently, I can't just pick you up. They're going to send off to the palace. It's going to be a whole thing. They'll come back. Now, I need to ask you, in the future, people ask you what you think of 10 sales. What do you say?
I don't know. I told them that I thought he'd make a good king, and
What? Okay. So here's the thing. Heard you tell this story to me the other day. You said something else when you said you thought he'd make a good king. What was that?
Gus hangs his head and says he's an asshole. But
Okay, so here's the thing. Say you think he has a forceful personality. Go with that? Do you not agree?
that seems kind of dishonest.
Listen, I have never asked you to be dishonest.
Yes, you have.
I have told
Multiple
you to tell
times.
the truth.
You
The guard,
Not have a forceful personality?
the guard standing at the stairs, is kind of watching the conversation.
Gus
And
is still
he
drunk.
he leans in. Says, "Is this going anywhere?"
Yeah, I'm just letting him know he's going to be here for a bit. When you hear from the palace, I don't suppose if I left you the funds for it, you'd see your way to paying a runner to come by and let us know?
He says he can have that arranged.
Alright, and I'll toss over, or rather, I'll hand him over another gold.
As he takes the next gold piece, he hollers over from one of the other moss caps. Outside, there were 2 men stationed. Inside are another 2 during their during their off duty. He has one of these men roused, sends them down to the locker, and takes out Gus's weaponry and effects. So I see no real need to hold on to these. He turns them back over to you.
Good of you. Seeker just kind of like holds the hammer like, this is real heavy. But
I mean, it's a hammer. My armor. I don't know. Did they take my armor, or am I still wearing it?
Oh yeah, armor, hammer, anything you're carrying.
as best he can, and kind of cradles it.
My shield. And I look at Seeker and says, "Don't put anything on my. Leave my shield alone."
No one's gonna touch your shield, guys.
And after he turns the things over, he says, "You might want to finish up with your men there. I can't have you here all day."
You got it. Alright, Gus. So here's
Yep.
the thing. You can't say anything that you don't think would provoke a fight. Just don't say anything. Just buy them a drink next time. Everyone loves getting bought a drink. You love getting bought a drink, right, Gus?
I feel like getting bought a drink is why I'm here.
Buy other people drinks, Gus. Other people.
I'll keep that under advisement.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Next time I'm dumping this in the ocean. It's too heavy.
Next time you die, I'm gonna dump you in the ocean.
At that, the moss cap feels like the conversation has probably run its course.
And Seeker will nod and woke up.
He tells you he'll send a man once they know more about what we're doing with him.
Thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
where do you tell him to send the man to? To your barge?
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Okay,
has a business card. I didn't take it back.
real talk. Gus is a little belligerent.
Yeah, you think?
You fucking think?
Florian,
That's me.
you're commissioning an artist. About 100 gold.
Mm-hmm.
100 gold's not going to get you anything super extravagant done in stonework. I mean, imagine like going on DeviantArt and being like, "Hey, I got $5. Can somebody draw me a Twitter portrait?" That's what we're kind of dealing with right now.
Will you take an art swap?
Does it matter to Florian whether you're hiring a gnome or a dwarf? The difference in as much as there is a difference is the gnome is more likely to make something with actual artistic merit, where the dwarf is more likely to work the stone more skillfully. Or we can just call it even and odds.
I think artistic merit is how we'd go with this.
Okay.
We need something, guys. We need something.
I'll get you some wood and some paint.
And Florian explains to this gnome that he works for Flumph and that they don't have any iconography of Flumph. And his goal is to put something visible on the barge that people can see, so they can know that they're in the right place when they approach the barge. Like, aha, that might be a Flumph. I don't know. The common people don't even know what a Flumph is, but anyway.
Okay. How big do you want this thing?
Well, how does the size of it affect the price in any way? Let me ask that.
Well, you said you're spending 100 gold.
Yeah.
So the bigger you want it, the
more
lower in
it'll
quality it's
cost.
going to be.
Okay. Lower in quality it's going to be.
Right.
If I say Flumph sized, is that helpful?
I think Flumph is a small creature.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I have the monster manual here in front of me. Page 135. So Flumph is a small creature. So probably about the size of like a medium-sized dog.
Perfect.
Which would be around the size of like if you were hanging a wooden sign out of a storefront.
Perfect. Perfect.
And do you have any... So here's what I'm going to require of you.
Okay.
Next time you have some downtime is just describe the imagery to me on the sign. What's the Flumph doing? Is it holding anything? Is it doing anything in particular? Is there any wording on the sign? What does it say? What kind of stone do you want it done with? Go into as much or as little detail as you like. It's not going to be the nicest looking thing in the world because you're only paying 100 gold for this. And the artist you're speaking to is actually a sculptor's apprentice, which is one of the reasons you're getting him so cheaply.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the gold that you pay him will actually be going to his boss, who is known for doing stonework all around the city.
All right.
And figure this will take, all told, about 2 weeks. He'll be doing this in his spare time amidst his other tasks.
Excellent.
So let me just mark down on my calendar here. Flumph statue done. So hopefully 4 sessions from now when we get around to that date, I actually remember what that means.
Florian has been wanting to do this for a while now, so...
Okay.
Because he has plans for this statue.
Oh boy. Any other requests you have of the artist or of his master, who is more of a sculptor and stoneworker?
Nope, but Florian is eager to see the finished results. This is going to be prominently displayed on our barge. And when anyone asks us about it, we will tell them that it was the stonemason's apprentice that made it.
How much money do you put down on this project?
What's customary, like half?
You're kind of out of bounds when it comes to what's customary, because you're hiring on an apprentice.
Okay.
So I'll just let you make the decision how much you want to give him today and how much you owe when the
Half
tax
now,
is
half on finish delivery, yeah.
All right, so you're giving him 50 gold today, and you'll owe him 50 gold on the 11th.
Yep.
And Lucius.
Yes, sir.
Lucius. Your name's Lucius now. Screw everybody.
Lucius, okay. Okay.
I typed Lucius for some reason on my afternoon actions here.
Sure. 56 cards.
He tells you that Irving has been back into his place pretty much every evening since you last had a run-in with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he bids you come behind his counter for a moment.
Yeah.
And he takes off the shelf of one of the stores in his kitchen a small brown parcel and sets it on the table and opens it up. And inside is a small glass vial stopped with wax. Looks like it has very small amount of liquid in it, maybe just a couple of drops. Here's the solution to our little problem. I trust you can handle this with great discreetness.
Lucius looks very concerned at this. He says, "You saying you want me to kill the man?"
He looks a little taken aback. So, well, when we last spoke, I took your meaning to be that you wanted to kill the man. I realize you haven't done this sort of work with me before, and that perhaps your nerves are getting the better of you. But standard procedure for this kind of work is you take care of the man, and I'll take care of his body. Is that agreeable?
Very well.
And he wraps the little vial back up. He tells you that he places the task in your care. Obviously you'll choose to do it on site in an area that you both can keep control of. So he'll know when the job is done and when he needs to step in. And that you need not worry about Mosscap intervention. Just so long as nobody sees how you do it. Slip it into his drink or his food is the traditional way, but I know you are a man of arcane means, and perhaps you have some other methodology I've not considered. I leave it entirely up to your discretion.
Very well.
He says if this goes well, and he finds that this thing is profitable for you both, that perhaps more work like this will be available for you in the future.
With respect, I think this would just be a one-time thing.
He nods. He says, very well. And that's the end of the discussion as far as he's concerned.
Yeah.
So, on your character sheet, on your inventory, you can write that you have 2 drops of incredibly deadly poison, and then in parentheses, no save.
Okay.
Do you not drink?
This is the episode where all of Flumph goes to prison.
Visits prison.
Florian's not doing anything bad. Fuck.
I didn't do anything bad.
Mm.
I just defended myself.
I can see why you would say it that way. I would definitely recommend saying it to the judge like that.
So, Florian hasn't done anything bad. He goes back to pick up his sculpture, and he's carved a Flumph with all his tentacles, like, wrapped around a 14-year-old girl.
No.
Stop it.
Lucius, what do you do with incredibly deadly poison, in parentheses, no save?
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the barge and rethink my life choices.
No, we're gonna get Alexander to replicate it, and then we're gonna kill the final boss. No save.
Well, I mean, the final boss is going to be the hand. For sure.
I can take it.
The hand.
Can't make a save if it can't drink the poison.
Alexander. While Lucius is going back to rethink his life choices, you're going to speak to Vice Admiral Alan Villo. And this man is sort of known in Dunfos for these times. Not laughing stock would be the wrong word, but he has been idle for the entirety of Maximilian's reign. There hasn't been a standing navy in Dunfos. There aren't really that many threats at sea. Piracy is a very far away peril. And arriving in his manor, you're told that the Admiral is receiving a visitor today for lunch and asks if you would reschedule. And in so prodding, you find out that the man he's meeting with is Vimnis Zorasoth, the Triton captain that you'd spoke to previously.
I'll actually mention that I'll ask if you could, I'll ask the servant if he could present my name as, being interested in joining both of them for lunch. Since I have some familiarity with Captain Vimnis.
When the servant hears that you are an associate or a friend of Captain Vimnis, he tells you that he will go and pass your name along. And a few moments after that, the servant returns, and you are granted entry, taken into this manor house. And it's all, I mean, you're a man of some nobility. Your family name does carry at least some measure of weight in Dunfos. And Gnomish nobility is a little different from human nobility in a lot of ways. But it's never fun to step into a noble's house, a family that has lost a lot of their wealth over the years, but is still trying to cling to the vestiges of what they used to have. The house has very little in the way of furnishings. Quite a lot has been sold off. It looks like there's an entire wing of the house that stands shuttered.
Mm-hmm.
But you're taken into a small tea room where the Vice Admiral, a man of 50 or so, relatively fat, but you can tell this was once a proud man in his heyday, and Captain Vimnis, who seems delighted to see you. But the men both stand up as you enter the room.
Then I'll bow and take a seat at the table. Well, thank you for agreeing to let me join you.
You're not known to the Vice Admiral, are you? Like, this is the first time you've met him?
No.
Okay. Captain Vimnis makes the introductions between the two of you. Vimnis knows that you run a detective agency, you and your companions. And he repeats what he's been told about Flumph Inc. and what they've done, but leaves out the parts about what he knows. He doesn't say anything about, like, the evil Dunwich horrors.
Sure.
that you've had your people look into. He mentions, though, that as you caught them in the middle of a conversation, that they believe they're talking about Sigurd Tensails, and whether, if he takes the throne, whether as a man he will reinstate Dunfos's navy.
I mean, he seems to pretty much enjoy having his own little ship, doesn't he?
What is Alex's opinion about Dunfos having a navy?
I don't think he has a very strong opinion on it. I think he probably thinks it's foolish that they haven't built their navy back up after most of it disappeared.
Okay.
But he doesn't really he's not going out there and getting people to sign petitions to fund the navy. He just thinks that the current king is a little bit foolish to completely overlook that.
Okay. Well, you are lectured by two very opinionated men on how you're wrong about the navy and why it's important to have it and this and that. Make an insight check.
Sure. Can I, do they mind if I smoke a cigarette while we're eating?
No, of course not.
It's gonna be like, might just be the 10, let's see. Yeah, it's just a 10.
A 10, okay. It becomes very clear very quickly that the Vice Admiral does not love King Maximilian at all. In fact, his third son, his oldest son, sailed out to sea after King Catspin vanished. And that was the last anybody heard of him. He went off in search of what happened to Catspin's fleet and never came home. And he's kind of a conspiracy theorist about it. He thinks that perhaps King Maximilian or some of his dwarven allies somehow had something to do with it. They arranged for Catspin to vanish at sea and then buried the evidence when he sent his boy out to find him. How does Alex respond to conspiracy theories?
I mean, he thinks that it's interesting. He doesn't really sound like something that dwarves would want to do, at least not on the open sea. Maybe if they disappeared in the middle of a mine shaft.
Okay.
But, I mean, I believe I have heard of a few dwarven captains, so it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility.
And that's kind of the tenure of the conversation as it goes.
Okay.
Is there anything specific Alex is trying to get out of either of these two men?
I'm just trying to get a basic measure of him, see if he make sure that all the information I read about him is accurate, and decide if I want to present him as one of the options to the drow.
He's a very bitter man, and he still very acutely feels the loss of his children. He has no love of Sigurd Tensails because the man's a pirate.
Okay.
Probably not the pirate that killed his other two children,
Right.
but he was a pirate,
Yep.
and he thinks... I mean, you would have found this out in your investigations previously. There was a time when Juliana first kind of pardons Tensails many years ago, that the Vice Admiral was against the decision. But
Okay.
now he sees Tensails as an ally of opportunity. As far as Destinary is concerned, this is a man that does not have much wealth remaining, although he still is a good family name and good standing. He's still well respected. It looks like he'd be very easy to control. And there's definitely no next of kin coming unless his son sails back from being lost at sea.
Okay.
What do you tell them your business is there?
It's kind of a social call.
Well, it can't be a social call because you and this man don't know each other.
Right. I mean, with everything going on with Tensails coming back, I was just interested in maybe discussing someone with a little bit more knowledge of naval going-ons, and your name came up in my investigations. I was just mostly curious about, what the military's thought on Tensails is. After having fought next to him, just trying to get my head around this whole Dunfossian politics thing. It's still a little alien to a gnome.
Villo, I mean, he's a skilled captain. No mistake about that. He particularly liked the stunt where he sailed into High Court Harbor and took the king's dock. He thought that was great. High time somebody did, he feels.
How's Vimnus in all of this? What are his opinions on and things?
Vimnus, knowing what you know about Vimnus, about how he's just trying to get somebody in Dunfoss to listen to him about the eldritch horrors of the deep, he is very much in favor of Tensails becoming the king, specifically because Tensails has been out at sea for a very, very long time and would have seen some evidence of what Vimnus has talked about. He thinks Tensails as king means a king that's going to take this threat to Dunfoss seriously at long last.
Okay, no, that's plenty of information. I didn't actually care what he thought about Tensails. I'm just sizing him up for the job.
Okay. Make an insight check.
Sure. 15.
15. Speaking about that last subject with them, and Villo is a man of very little means anymore, but he has the name, he has the respect, he has the history, and he has the knowledge. Whereas Captain Vimnus is a man of considerable means, and he has his own ships, and he has connections in town, and he's well liked by the people in Dunfoss. Towards the end of the meeting, you kind of get the sense that you've come into a a conspiracy meeting. Like,
Mhm.
these two men are discussing what they can do to pull their resources together and put Ten Sails on the throne.
I mean, I'll just, not. I won't say it overtly, but I'll let them know that I have absolutely no problem with that and would probably support him myself.
The Admiral, he says he has no knowledge of this Flumph Inc., but if Captain Vimnus is speaking of you as highly as he does, you must be an inspector of some level of talent.
Well, we have stopped a few attempts to blow up parts of the city.
And for that, I'm sure the Crown has shown you considerable gratitude, he says sarcastically.
Alex will just nod and smirk.
He asks
I
kind
only
of
spent
offhand,
one night in the Blackjackets prison, so that I think that's actually coming out pretty well, dealing with this sort of thing.
he asks kind of offhandedly whether, in the terms of the terms of any of your current investigations, whether you've looked into or found out anything about the other frontrunners for King, about Ten Sails competition.
I mean, not to my knowledge, but we do have a lot of different investigators, and that hasn't been my primary area. I believe we have had some dealings with Journey before, but she kind of turned sour on us, and to tell you the truth, the feeling's a bit mutual.
To which Villo kind of straightens up in his chair a little bit, and he spits out something about how it doesn't surprise him that someone of her kind is sour to the core. And you can't tell whether he's talking about Tieflings or he's talking about Keyskins.
Yeah.
It is the Admiral's opinion that Journey is probably the other front runner.
Mm-hmm.
Disregarding Joni Fletcher for now.
Yeah.
He says if over the course of your investigation you find some choice piece of information that a friend of Sigurd Ten Sails might put to use, as an old man would be very gracious if you were to pass it along.
I'll keep that in mind.
And with that, you make your notes on the rest of the conversation. Vimnus is there well into the evening. How long do you sit there with them?
Just through the dinner, maybe a little bit after. Maybe just take another cigarette after that and then leave.
Okay. And with that, I think we're going to take our break for 15 minutes. And when we come back, I will collect evening actions. Well, we know what Gus is doing this evening.